At this point, I think the most balanced Canon camera is you always buy a house little bigger than what you need today, ideally, because you can grow into that space.
Could there still be improvements? Absolutely. Like what can really be done these days?
To me, as an outsider, it felt like he feels the need to be happy. Also for Jared, suddenly the benchmark is autofocus in 3 spots, using the predictive AI better than anyone else. So that's a value. That's something that they're providing. I have a question for you today. Like, does it happen to you that you feel as if there is a camera or a lens or some other tool that might inspire you more, might just unlock something that you're not aware of? I won't lie, it happens to me. It happens to me so much. What I'm leading up to today is my unsaid desire to buy a Canon for some time now. Like, I think 2.5, 3 years, I've been thinking of buying one of the Canon RF cameras. With that as a context, I would like to evaluate Canon's R5II. I use the Z8 heavily. I bought it right at the launch, followed by the ZF and now the Z60, which is another exciting, excellent camera, especially for the price segment that it comes in. A7 IV, currently love the A7 IV files, to be honest, in photos, also in video. But so as a Z8 user over a year, what do I think about the Canon R5II? Welcome to Frames TM. Subscribe to the channel and let's get into it. Let's talk about video first. The big news about the Canon R5II is that it's now got a stacked sensor, 45 megapixels. Now that it's got the speed, it can do 8K 60 RAW. The R5II does not have 8K 60 in the highest quality RAW, which is in Canon terms, which is RAW standard. Did you know that in the highest quality RAW standard, they don't give you 8K 60. It can do 8K 24, it can do 8K 25 and 30. It'll do 8K 60 in RAW light. That has a lower data rate of about, the data rate is capped at 2600 Mbps. So that's like 8K 24 for NRAW, which is a data rate of approximately 2780 Mbps, 2780 Mbps, higher than Canon's 8K 60 in RAW light and 8K 30 in standard RAW. In fact, Nikon's NRAW 8K 60, the high quality NRAW NK 60, has a bitrate of approximately 5780 Mbps. That says a lot, because understand the Nikon came out and patently said that they are using a new codec which is very highly compressed, because of which RAW suit them, red suit them. So they're already using a very highly compressed RAW file, but even then their 8K 60 is 5780 Mbps, more than twice the size of R5II's highest quality RAW. Now the R5II does not also do 4K 20 in RAW, not in SRAW or RAW standard, or these are all different things, by the way. SRAW is different from standard RAW. So RAW standard, SRAW, RAW light. The camera does not do 4K 120 in any of those modes. It can do 4K 120 in normal 10-bit 422, but not in RAW. The Z8, my 1-year-old Z8, can do 4K 120 in full frame. And it can also do 3.8K with 120 with a 2.3x crop. So when I want 4K 120 full frame, I have that. If I want to kind of really zoom in video, in wildlife and birding, it's great. I can have 2.3x crop. So I have a 600mm lens. You can go up to almost 1400 millimeters and do slow motion, almost 4K, 3.8K. So the Canon does it. The Canon does 4K 120 in line script and with 422, not in RAW. Okay. What's great that the R5II can do 2K in 240. That, because if you are using a full HD 1080p timeline, 2K is great. You have a little more to play with. It can also do 1080, 240. The Z8 doesn't do any of these things, and I think the Z8 should do. It has all the power to do, I think, at least 1080 240 and also 2K 240. I'm sure of it. The dual card recording, including proxy, this thing is there on the R5II. The Nikon Z8 doesn't have it. So essentially, the R5II can do recording in both the cards, and it can also record a proxy, a low resolution file, which is for easy edit. I think they can do it in all the formats because they're also using a smaller RAW overall, 2600 Mbps. That's the highest. It's also got SD card here. It definitely cannot do all those RAW and ProRes codecs. It can't back it up in the second card. I think what it'll have to do is it can probably do the 10-bit H.265 backup, but not the other formats. But I'm sure the Z9 can do it, because Z9 has both, CF Express cards. So I think Nikon should allow that to happen. I don't know why Nikon haven't. Is there a circuitry issue? They don't have the circuitry to do that. I don't know. Anyway, so that's, I think, I'm just saying that the R5II can do it, the Z8, the Nikons cannot do it. Now, why do I say all that? Why do I say that, hey, look, Canon is not giving you 4K 120, the data rates are capped to only 2600 Mbps. Why am I complaining about 8K 60 not being in RAW? Am I being too critical? Do I use 8K 60 RAW with my Z8? No. Do I start using it tomorrow? No. Did I start using it? Did I ever use it? Probably once or twice. So no, not because I use them. Of course not. But then tomorrow, are you going to become a basketball shooter, football shooter? Because the R5II has predictive autofocus. So tomorrow you'll stop shooting what you're shooting, and tomorrow you're going to go and shoot basketball and soccer or football. I'm sure it's not going to be the case, right? But you talk about it, because if you were to ever shoot that, you have now that ability. You can do basketball and soccer autofocus using the predictive AI better than anyone else. So that's a value. That's something that they're providing that you can value, that I can value. I see some value in it. Is it niche? Yeah, it's too niche. Is it fringe? Yeah, it is fringe. No matter how Jared Polin dramatizes that, or someone else says, oh, this is it is not game changing. It's only it's only applicable to 3 sports. There's a long way to go. I challenge you. Take the A9 III, take the R5II, shoot them with similar lenses. Shoot a runner, shoot a swimmer, see which one does better. I'm pretty sure the A9 III will do better. A9 III, A1, Z9, Z8, they're always similar in otherwise autofocus. But the reason they talked about that predictive autofocus so much, because these are differentiator, because these are something you can grow into. You always buy a house little bigger than what you need today, ideally, if you can afford that, because you can grow into that space. And if you ever want to shoot those sports, it can do it. So if you ever want to shoot after shooting 8K 30 and for some time and enjoying it, if there's one client, if there's one situation where you feel like shooting 8K 60, you discover, hey, now all that workflow that you have set up and you have loved for, let's say, months, you can't do the same thing if you shoot 8K 60. Now you have to compromise. It's a different kind of RAW file. It's raw light. It's not the same RAW. So I think Canon effectively is asking you to practice shooting and create a workflow that is raw light. And then if you do that, you can shoot in all the way from 4K 24 to 4K 60 and 4K 8K 24 to 8K 60. But if you ever need 4K 120, forget RAW, use H.265. So I look at that and interpret that as a message. And I see that the need for Canon to put the 8K 60 RAW is really the company's need to be able to talk about it than fulfilling a need that the customer might have. It's their need. They're doing it for themselves, not for you and I. This camera, the Z8, it does what it does and it does it fully. I will never have to worry about image quality up to 8K 60, and that's plenty for the next 5 years. I'm pretty sure about that. Also, look at it this way. Canon is asking you to pay $80. That's a lot of money in India, by the way, where I am. That's a lot of money in most countries. For each of that new battery that you will require to run the fan grip, that costs separate. So if you, let's say, get 4 of these new batteries, so that's $240 US equivalent in different other countries. And then about $400 or $500 US for the fan grip. So if that's 400 and 240, that's like $650 US to use the fan grip. And the fact that you have the fan grip available with the new battery means that it tells me that you will need that. It's there and they're producing it not for nothing. It's because you will need that. And I don't like that signal. If I'm using my Z8 and my Z6 III, they're not asking you to be ready for something that you might need later on because, but Canon is signaling that you might need a fan grip. and you can't use it to shoot vertically. It's a lot of hidden messaging. It's like I have to be careful about my credit card bill and see what's there really, what's happening. Like hidden costs, this asterisks. Camera Conspiracy did a video said, oh, there is no triple hammer. He missed it. He missed all these things. He missed it. Camera Casey, if you're watching this, you missed it. Then on the other hand, Peter McKinnon, the guy I really love and admire, of course, who doesn't, of course. He said all cameras are so good, we don't expect anything more. Nah. But really, is that true? Is there nothing else Canon could have done?
Part of me, like, I wish there were even more updates to it. I wish there were more exciting features that just absolutely destroyed minds and blew up the internet. But at the same time, I think the world has changed and in that the industry has also changed, whereas everything is so good now that I don't think any manufacturer could do anything that would blow minds. Could there still be improvements? Absolutely. Like, what can really be done these days? And that goes across the whole board.
For Peter to say that all cameras are so good, what else could he have asked for? What else can he ask for? There is so much to innovate on. I mean, first of all, let me deviate for one line, okay, one sentence. Can't you do better than that really badly distorted $1,500 35 millimeters 1.4? A little more distortion on that lens will become a fisheye lens. Was it impossible to consider coming back to R5II? What about internal ND? What about external SSD recording? What about 32-bit audio? What about 16-bit color stills? Okay, 15-bit color stills. What about adding anti-theft that Tony keeps talking about? Better flash sync speed of 1/500th of a second. There are areas, I mean, pick any of these things. You don't have to do all of them. Just take flash sync. There are lots of areas to innovate. So Peter McKinnon says there is a glass ceiling to innovation now because, to me, as an outsider, it felt like he feels a need to be happy with what's been provided this time. Also for Jared, suddenly the benchmark is autofocus in 3 sports. He's not going to shoot anything else in the next 2 years. He talked about how this autofocus system will trickle down to everything else that Canon does later on going forward. So he's going to only shoot soccer now, and he's going to only shoot basketball and volleyball. That's convenient, I think. Yeah. No, I honestly think that Canon customers deserve more, honestly. I think they're loyal customers. They love what they have. They do so much. There's such beautiful Canon creators out there, and I think they should be a bit more vocal. They have been in the last, I think, 1.5 years. You guys, if you're a Canon shooter, you should ask for more. You should be not such a nice guys and say that you're happy and you're a Nikon shooter. Don't do that. I mean, you're going to pay your money, of course. I would like to get a Canon. I just can't justify it. With a Z8, Z6 III and ZF, I'm set. When I need the Sony goodness, I have that Sony A7IV. Beautiful. I'm waiting for the Sony A7V. The X-T5. Not upgrading to the latest firmwares. Risky. But the X-T5 is beautiful. Trust me, as a YouTube channel that wants to grow more, I want to have fantastic relationship with all manufacturers. But I find it so tough to not talk about these things. I find it so tough. I find it so tough to not talk about the fact that Nikon needs to revamp their menu system now that they've added so much to their menu. They need to re-look at how they're bracketing the stuff inside the menu. And there's a lot. I think Nikon needs a new battery, for example. They do. I want to say the truths because all I'm fighting for first, I want better stuff. Okay. I want cheaper stuff. Always. I want to spend as little as I can and get as much as I can. Okay. That's my search. If Casey says he's looking for the best camera, my search is this. Within budget, the best possible ideal camera. Best possible ideal lens. Which is why I feel comfortable spending money on the Nikon system because the lenses are fantastic. They don't have distortion. Okay. The lenses project a larger image than the sensor in most situations. They're fantastic. So, okay, let's talk about photography now. 30 FPS RAW is great. Canon R5II, great job. 30 FPS RAW, 45 megapixels, good. This camera should have come with another bigger body, and And that should have been the R1. They should have gone the Nikon route, honestly. R5 Mark II in a smaller body, and R1, same stuff as the R5 Mark II, but a bigger body, bigger, better thermals. Better thermals, yes, better thermals. In that bigger body, a bigger battery. Yeah, don't ask for that extra batteries to buy. Don't ask for another fan grip. Why can't you just give a bigger body, man? The R1 could have been the R5II with much better thermals and a bigger body. They didn't. It's a choice. It's a choice, not a compulsion. Anyway, let's talk about photography. 30 FPS RAW is great versus 20 FPS by Z8. I don't ever go above 12 FPS because I don't need it, but you might, because you might need that space to grow into more spectacular specs in that camera. So I want Nikon to. Nikon, please, I don't know why you're putting this limit of FPS. These cameras can easily do 30 FPS, I think. If there's an issue that we can't do 14-bit RAW, it's fine, just give us 12-bit RAW. The real practical problem with a 30 FPS RAW on the Canon R5II is that the buffer depth is shallow. It doesn't have depth. You can just keep shooting unlimited almost at 20 FPS RAW with the Z8 if you have the right card. Same with the Z9, same with the Z6 III. So autofocus is great, but it was already good. I mean, I look, if you're saying that it is so much better than R5, then for 4 years you've been saying the R5 is absolutely flawless. Now suddenly it is so much better than R5 that the R5 doesn't look good against the R5II in autofocus. It doesn't sound logical. Anyway, so coming back to my decision making, at this point I think the most balanced Canon camera is the R6II. The R8 is a smart sell for Canon, but a bad purchase for any customer. There's just too many compromises, and it's great for someone who's probably buying it for the first time, because every new camera buyer will make a mistake and then they'll learn. Canon has given you a beautiful mistake to make with R8. Then you learn that, hey, I don't have this or that, a few things, and you regret it for like 1 year, and then you sell it off and go and get the R6II. That's what the R8 is for. R8 is a camera which makes you buy a camera twice. So yeah, I'm good at the Z8. I would have loved to get a Canon, but I can't. Love this or hate this, okay? I had to say what I saw or saw through. What I genuinely felt, I said that, as a consumer and as a tech enthusiast. If you disagree, I would say this: you're probably too close to Canon to be able to objectively see this. Let the noise subside. Let all of these things become a bit normal, and let the excitement dial down a bit, okay? Let it cool down a bit. Then really have a relook at the R5II. Look at everything that I've said. Things that are factual. Forget the opinion in this video. Look at the facts that I have put together. Only react to the facts. Maybe forget my interpretation of the facts, but look at the facts. What do the facts tell you? At this point, R5 looks like such a solid camera. I mean, for I think $2,800 US, or the Z8 at $3,400, $3,500 US. These two cameras look like such absolute joyful things to purchase, right? If you want even more well-rounded video, go for the Nikon Z8. If you are cool with photography, go with the R5, honestly, and probably get one used at $2,000 or $1,700 or $2,000 US. It's going to be such a good buy, and I might think about that, yeah. So what's your real reason actually? What are you telling yourself to choose the R5 over the R5 or the Z8? See you in the next one.